Thank you, thank you. I would like to start by sharing with all of you something that's very personal to me, and that is the fact that I hate networking. I really do. As a graduate from a business university, I think from the very beginning, we were always taught and instilled the fact that our network would eventually become our net worth. And this made me always very, very uncomfortable. I think when you assigned the value to yourself based on the value of connections of the people that you know in the professional world, I think it creates a lot of pressure. And this always made me very uneasy. And not only do I not like networking, I'm also really, really bad at it. So to give you an example, I'm going to do a little bit of storytelling and take you back about 2 summers ago. I was interning, and I decided that I wanted to network and position myself as a potential candidate to be a full-time hire, because everybody wants to be employed after graduation, of course. So I said, okay, Jose, as I often do when I think about important things, I think in the third person. So I said, okay, Jose, we need to do something. We need to take people out to coffee. So I did that. I invited someone who I worked with to coffee because he had the job that I was aspiring to have. And we decided to go to Starbucks. And I said, this is going to be low pressure. There's not going to be a lot of, I probably won't feel nervous because we're literally just talking over coffee. So I did. And I was very strategic. As we were walking to Starbucks, I made sure I was walking behind him so that after he ordered coffee, I would be able to pay. So he ordered coffee, and then I ordered. And I gave my card to the barista. I said, no, let me get it. It's on me. And he was like, no, you don't have to do that. It's only coffee. So I said, no, please, I insist. And the barista swiped my card, and my card got declined for coffee, just for coffee. And I was so embarrassed. And he said, no, don't worry. We'll put it on the corporate card. And I said, oh, okay, fine. Well, you can do that too. So he paid for it, and he said it was fine. And we started talking, but I was just so nervous. I was very jittery. I was trying to be all witty and snarky and saying all the wrong things. So, for example, he was talking that he wanted to buy an apartment, and this is in New York. And then my reaction to that was like, you can afford an apartment in New York? And he was very offended, and I was like, no, that came out the wrong way. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. And it was just a very weird conversation. Now, for the people that know me and that I'm close to, you know that when I talk, I tend to speak very fast. And when I speak about something that I'm very excited about, I speak even faster and very, very animated. This is something that I attribute to being from Honduras, because I swear to you, we have something in our blood that makes our words just go 100 miles an hour. So I was talking to him, and then he mentioned something about Serena Williams. And I said, oh my God, he just mentioned my idol. So I went and I started talking so fast, and I was moving my arms, and in one of those movements, I overextended my arm, and this is one of those moments in life that you live in slow motion, and I just saw my hand knock over his cup of coffee. And as I was slowly watching that cup of coffee go down, I saw the lid get a life of its own and fly away, proceeding to spilling the entire contents of the coffee cup. Now, you might think, well, this is not that bad. You only spilled the coffee. It gets worse, because not a single drop of coffee fell on the ground. Everything fell on his pants. And I am telling you, this poor man was burning. He was not saying it, but he was really burning. I mean, still today, I hope I didn't compromise his ability to have children. It was just tragic, tragic. And our encounter really ended. I was very embarrassed, obviously, after this was like strike 2. And then we ended everything by saying, he was like, oh, don't worry, it's okay. I had worn these pants for 3 days straight anyway, so it was time to wash them. And that was the end of the conversation. So ever since that day, I was like, Jose, this is really an indicator that this is not going to work for you. You should not be networking with people, because you're going to injure someone in the long term. And that's when I really started thinking about networking. That's us, by the way, in my idealized version of what everything should have looked like. Clearly that was not the case. Next time I'll get a sippy cup or something. And that's when I started thinking about networking and what networking really entails, and really why it made me feel so uncomfortable and so not at ease. So I went online, and I obviously looked up the definition, and networking is defined as the exchange of information or services amongst individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. And I think some really good concepts arise from this, some very positive concepts arise from this. Right, we have something called the exchange of information, and I think that's good. when you're exchanging something, I think that entails something very good because it means you're giving something and someone is receiving as well. And in addition to that, we also have the concept of a productive relationship. And I think that's very positive as well. When you have a relationship with someone, you want it to yield something. You want it to be positive, not just be something stagnant. So I think that's good. But where I had my issues with networking is when we tie it back to a specific purpose that's just for employment or business. And that's really what made me feel so not at ease at it. So it's saying, okay, we're exchanging these types of information, or we're making these relationships productive, but at the end of the day, we're just doing it for employment or business. So I said, no, I really don't like that. And then I went online, and I did some additional research, and I found some research from the University of Toronto where they interviewed different groups of people and then separated them to 4 different categories. And they asked them, write about a time, and then they gave them sort of different criteria. So the first group wrote about a time where they had gone to a networking event or an event where they purposely went to have a professional gain. Then the second group were asked to write about an event where they went to an event and they got a professional gain, but they didn't do it deliberately. It was spontaneous. And then the 2 other groups, it was similar to the first 2, but then they were just asked to ask about a time where they received a personal gain, not a professional gain. So very interestingly enough, the results were quite shocking. After that, they were giving a couple of words, like the ones you see on the screen, and they were asked to fill in the blanks. So casually enough, the people that were not in seeking a professional gain came up with words like shaker, like with, like ship. But the people who sought a professional gain came up with cleansing words. So casually enough, these people filled in the blanks and came up with words like shower, wash, and soap. And I said, wow, that's very interesting because they posed sort of the concept of that networking can make you feel dirty. And I think, wow, that's very curious. And then I said, well, gee, this is true. I guess I felt that way, but clearly they didn't do the research well enough because networking can not only feel you dirty, but you can also make other people dirty like I did in the past. So hopefully I'm going to write to them, and that's going to be sort of part 2 of this study. So stay tuned. Now, because of that, I've identified sort of what the alternative is. And I think a lot of people will be good at networking, but we never really established another concept, the other version of what to do when you don't want to network. And that's when I started thinking about something called relationship building and how you can further yourself professionally and personally by just building genuine relationships with the people that are around you. So there are 2 very important concepts to relationship building. Number 1 is what you see on screen, which is the concept of wearing who you are on your sleeve. Literally, like this guy is doing. He's wearing a Lego on his sleeve. And I think it's very empowering and it's very beautiful to see someone just wear the person that they are on their sleeve and be unafraid and be empowered by the person that they are and by everything that makes them who they are. So what you're seeing now is a real picture. It's a picture of my desk at work, and those are all Broadway playbills because I love going to the theater and I love watching musicals. Sister Act, by the way, is one of the best musicals I've ever seen. If you guys love the movie, you would even love the musical even more. I even cried, as embarrassing as it is. Who cries with Sister Act? No one. No one. But this is a picture of my cubicle at work, and I did this intentionally because I said, okay, I work at a corporate setting, but at the end of the day, I want to be judged the following way. As an employee and as the work I present, what I'm going to give you and the way you're going to evaluate that is by the work that I give to you and by the way I perform as an employee at work. But as a person, there's nothing that you can do to judge me other than the things that I present to you that are mine and make my personality. So this is what this sort of manifestation was. I want people to know that one of the things that I love is going to Broadway musicals, and some people have reacted really well to it. Some people don't get it. Some other people don't even know what it is. That's okay. But at the end of the day, I think I felt empowered to just show, okay, this is who I am. And at the end, what has been the best part is that this creates sort of grounds for relatability from other people. Another example, this is me a couple of months ago in September. The shirt, by the way, says Serena Slammed. This is me watching my girl Serena Williams winning the 2013 US Open, which was like a dream come true. It really was a dream come true. You know when people say dreams don't come true, they do. They really do, because this was a dream, and it happened. And everybody that knows me knows that I love this woman. I cannot explain to you why I do. I really don't know, but I really do. She is like my idol. I enjoy watching her play tennis. I enjoy everything she does on the court and everything she represents, and I just love her. And everybody knows that. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I am so passionate about this woman that everybody knows that. And what's important to know about this is that, look, at the end of the day, you can like Broadway shows or you can like Serena Williams, although from my personal experience, like none of my friends like her that much, but that's okay. But what's going to connect you to others is that passion, is that feeling, right? Everybody has something that you are passionate about, that you absolutely love, and that makes you who you are. So I encourage you to wear these things on your sleeve and really, really be empowered by them. Now, the second aspect, once we sort of talk about really wearing who you are on your sleeve and taking it to the next level, to the outside, then we start with the concept of building human relationships at the core. This is a picture of an onion, and I can see the question mark on your faces, but let me get to you. So, I just recently moved to New York City, and I realized very shortly that life in New York is very expensive. So I started cooking by myself. And one of the ingredients that I always use is an onion, mostly because I put it on everything, on omelets, on salads, or I don't know, anything else that I try to make up in my mind. But also because, you know when you see the cartoons and then you chop an onion and you start crying? I always thought that was a lie, but no, that's not a lie. Ever since I started cooking, those babies make you tear up, let me tell you. It happens all the time. But the point here is the strongest reaction that you have is when you get to the core of the onion. And I think this is a metaphor to what a real human relationship that's effective looks like. The strongest relationships that you have with others are the ones that are built from the core. When you're peeling an onion, you always take some layers away that you don't need, and that's okay. But when you reach the core, it's really, really what's going to be the most important part. So this is a sign. It says, "Welcome to Honduras." I'm originally from Honduras, and the way you put this in practice of building sort of these relationships at a core level is you go beyond what people normally ask. So a lot of times we talk about the weather. The amount of times I've talked about the snow or the cold this season has been literally on a daily basis. And okay, fine, whatever. It's always cold. We can't do anything about it. But the way you really connect with people is by going beyond that and asking not things that are on the surface, but are at this core that we mentioned earlier. So to give you an example, a couple of weeks ago, I was at work and we were at a networking event casually. I was so nervous. And they asked us, we went around, and this is one of the worst exercises that it's torture. And we went around and they asked us to write 2 anonymous questions to ask to senior leaders. And I was like, anonymous questions, this can go so wrong. So I decided, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something different. And everybody was asking about mentorship, how to get promoted, all these different things about the business world. But I said, I'm gonna do something different. So I wrote 2 questions down. The first one was, besides work, what are you most passionate about? And I emphasized that besides work so that they wouldn't say work. And the second question was, out of all the people in your life or all the people that are close to you, who do you look up at the most to that people would be surprised to know? I obviously already had answers for these questions, Serena Williams being one of them, but the other one being Honduras and my family. And I said to them, look, one of the things that I'm the most passionate about is my country. I come from a very small country that's very underdeveloped, that's very corrupt, that's very violent, and that I have been lucky enough to leave and to get more opportunities somewhere else. And I'm very passionate about that because I feel so fortunate to be here and eventually hopefully learn everything and take it back there. And I also said, I'm very passionate about my family. I love my family. My parents have sacrificed absolutely everything that they have for me to be here. And I have a younger brother who I adore and who always is close to my best friend that you could ever have. So I absolutely love this. And everybody has such a positive reaction, which was amazing. I was in a corporate setting, and everybody, all the girls were like, "Oh, that's beautiful." I was like, "Oh, I know, I'm crying too." But this builds a point, right? Everybody was asking questions about the surface and questions about being better and getting promoted and different things like that. But at the end of the day, what brought us closer wasn't those things that were in the surface. It was what made us the people that we are and the things that were at the core. So today, look, I think when we think about networking, there's always going to be room for networking, and there's always going to be people that are going to be great at networking. Absolutely. But I know for a fact that networking is not for me. And I know that for a lot of people out there, it might not be for you as well. So what I encourage you to do, and why I really empower you to do, is to don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be nervous when you have to go to a networking event or when you think about your career in the long term. I want you to feel comfortable, and I don't want you to feel like you have to pretend to be somebody else or fit in a certain corporate mold. No, at the end of the day, I think what's going to make you be the most successful is if you build this relationship at the core, if you wear who you are on your sleeve. And the best thing about this is that it's not only going to develop you professionally, but at the end of the day, you will hopefully become a person who not only is a great professional, but a great human being who is able to connect with the people around them at the most pure, beautiful, and genuine human level. Thank you.